It is the 10th of July of 1941. Army Group North has achieved spectacular success. The 4th Panzergruppe, led by Generaloberst Heppner, has two motorized corps led by General der Panzertruppe Georg Hans Reinhardt and General der Infanterie Erich von Manstein. The defending Soviet forces have been either dispersed or annihilated in the battle for the border, and the Germans are very optimistic. The panzers are now poised for further advance on two thrusts to reach the approaches to Leningrad from the southwest and the southeast. The 4th Panzergruppe wants to advance before the infantry catches up to cover its flanks and supply lines. Generalfeldmarschall Wilhelm Ritter von Lieb, commander of Army Group North, is now considering the best course of action. The German forces had smashed the border defenses in the Battle of Raseiniai, fended off Soviet counterattacks in Cholet and Daugavpils, and captured the Velikaya River defense line and the Stalin line, defeating yet another Soviet armored counterattack by the 3rd Tank Division in Ostrov, and later capturing the important city of Pskov the 8th of July. The next objectives were first to penetrate the Luga defense line and reach the approaches to Leningrad. Join with the Finns, who were launching their offensive this same day, and fully encircle Leningrad. Generalfeldmarschall von Lieb sent Generaloberst Georg von Kuchler's 18th Army through Latvia with the objective of destroying the Soviet forces and capturing the city of Tallinn, capital of Estonia. The 16th Army, led by Generaloberst Ernst Busch, was tasked with advancing behind the 4th Panzergruppe, supporting von Manstein's mobile forces and covering the panzers back and supplies. It covered the line running from Veliki Luki to Porkhov. The 4th of July, the Germans captured the city of Ostrov and the defense line on the Velikaya River. General Zhukov, Chief of Staff of the Red Army, ordered the commander of the Northern Front, General Polkovnik Markian Popov, to establish a new defense line composed of minefields, anti-tank guns and obstacles, 10 to 15 kilometers or roughly 6 to 9 miles deep, running from the Estonian city of Narva on the Baltic coast, following the Luga River all the way to Staraya Russa on Lake Ilmen. The Luga River is located roughly 100 kilometers or 80 miles south of Leningrad. General-Lieutenant Pyotr Sobenikov, the new commander of the Soviet Northwestern Front, had a battered force, with many of his divisions just under 2,000 men. General Polkovnik Popov created the Luga Operational Group with 4 rifle divisions, 2 separate rifle divisions, 1 mountain rifle brigade, 3 militia divisions, and several units from rifle and machine gun training schools. 25,000 additional laborers were mobilized to speed up the Luga defense line construction. In order to further galvanize this defense, Stalin appointed Marshal of the Soviet Union Kliment Voroshilov in command of the defense efforts, with the task of coordinating the northern and northwestern fronts. The 4th Panzergruppe's orders on the 10th of July were to encircle Leningrad between Lake Ladoga and the Gulf of Kronstadt as tightly as its forces could manage, to guard its own rear against enemy forces east of Lake Ilmen until the arrival of the 16th Army, and to occupy the sector between Narva Bay and Lake Peipus so as to cut off the route or retreat of enemy forces in Estonia. For this advance, the panzers had no cover or support on the flanks and the rear besides aerial reconnaissance. Soviet forces had to be either destroyed or bypassed. The 4th Panzergruppe's order number 11 on the preceding day, the 9th of July, shows the troops' optimism, and I quote, "Despite heavy resistance along the entire front of the Panzer Group, not to mention some isolated attacks, it is our view that we are facing the last combat-capable Russian units in the area to the east of Pskov and to the southwest of Leningrad. Some of these units have been partly destroyed. It now comes down to achieving a complete breakthrough and driving right up to the gates to Leningrad." But it was not to be so easy. The 11th of July, the left thrust, carried out by the 41st Motorized Corps, entered very difficult terrain, dense forests, extremely bad roads, and Soviet rearguard units that fought fiercely in terrain that was very favorable to the defender. It was very difficult for the Germans to bring their superior firepower to bear in the impenetrable forests, so the fight was confined to a couple decent and narrow roads. Oberst Walter Charles de Beaulieu, the chief of staff of the 4th Panzergruppe, suggested a change to advance in better terrain in the land between Narva and Lake Peipus, abandoning the main road to Leningrad. General Oberst Erich Hoepner was convinced, so he met with Army Group North's chief of staff, General Lieutenant Kurt Brennecke, and got permission to change the direction of advance. The right thrust in the direction of Novgorod was carried out by von Manstein. The 3rd Motorized Infantry Division captured Porkhov at 0100 hours and pushed forward to Borovichi, leaving a reinforced regimental detachment to defend Porkhov from continuous Soviet attacks from the east and south of the town. At the end of the day, General Halder noted in his diary that Army Group North encountered, and I quote, "fierce opposition of strong rearguards supported by planes and tanks. The bulk of these enemy forces apparently is being taken back to the east." End of quote. In the Soviet Western Front, Marshal Timoshenko had taken over command of the front and launched a front-wide counterattack. So, to the south of Army Group North, the Soviets attacked with the objective of recapturing Nievel, Polotsk and Vitebsk. This attack would keep the German 16th Army from advancing, and General Oberst Hermann Hoth's 3rd Panzergruppe was also engaged in heavy battles in Army Group Center to the right and south of the 16th Army. This was what the Germans called the Nievel Veliki Luki Group. It was actually the 22nd Soviet Army with 3 rifle corps, 9 rifle divisions, and 1 tank division. They were located just below the boundary between Army Group North and Army Group Center. Both the German 16th Army and the 3rd Panzergruppe would have to cooperate in the next few days and fight this menace to their advance. The Führer called Oberkommando des Heeres at 1400 hours, nervous about the slow progress of Hoepner's right wing, and Halder had to calm him, explaining the situation with the new Soviet army confronting both the 16th Army and von Manstein's 56th Motorized Corps. Hoth will have to swing north to help destroy the Soviet forces. Von Lieb's right wing, east of Opochka, all the way to Lake Ilmen, was a huge span of territory made of dense forest and marshes with few and very bad roads. All this combined brought the 16th Army's advance to a crawl. Halder's diary entry of this day shows interesting observations on anti-air, artillery and anti-tank performance, and I quote, "Ground anti-air forces lack supply, but show good results against pillboxes and air defense. The heaviest tanks were knocked out by 10 cm guns and a few 8.8 cm flat guns. Light field howitzers have also knocked out 50-ton tanks, probably KV tanks, at a range of 40 meters with AP projectiles. Russian tank drivers show little driving skill. They have many track breakdowns and the tank crews are very nervous under artillery fire." End of quote. So the German advance on the left resumed on the 13th. Reinhardt changed the axis of advance to the land between the main road to Leningrad and Lake Peipus. The 41st Motorized Corps advanced with the 36th Motorized Division on the left and the 1st and 6th Panzer Divisions back on the southern bank of the river Pliusa. The 269th Infantry Division was advancing towards the main road to Luga and Leningrad. The change of direction was not anticipated by the Soviets, and Reinhardt made good progress, advancing up to 20 kilometers or 12.5 miles beyond Liadi, crossing the river Pliusa. On the eastern shore of Lake Peipus, the 58th Infantry Division was dealing with much stronger Soviet resistance on its way to the town of Gdov, but it did not have serious problems. Von Manstein, on the right side of the advance to Lake Ilmen and Novgorod, made progress but was increasingly more and more isolated. The 3rd Motorized Division continued its advance northeast to Malaya Outergosh. It had opened the route for the 8th Panzer Division, which had arrived the day before, and in a very fast movement advanced all the way up to 20 kilometers or 12.5 miles west of Soltsy. But that was it. There were absolutely no German forces south of the Scheldt River. The 3rd Motorized Division and the 8th Panzer Division were alone. The SS Totenkopf Motorized Division, that was acting as Army Group North's mobile reserve, had not yet arrived at Porkhov. The infantry divisions that were supposed to support and cover their advance were far to the southwest, dealing with the Soviet 22nd Army in extremely difficult terrain and with a determination to fight unknown to the German soldiers up to this day. The Soviet forces were fighting to the last bullet, even when surrounded and encircled. And as we can read from General Halder's diary, Marshal Timoshenko's orders had been intercepted, and they threatened any commander who dared to retreat with a court-martial. At noon, the 8th Panzer Division defeated a local Soviet attack and captured Soltsy. By the end of the day, the 3rd Motorized Division was very close to the village of Malaya Utorgosh, but could not capture it. It was 20 kilometers or 12.5 miles apart from the 8th Panzer Division and even farther apart from the SS Totenkopf Motorized Division. There were no other available forces for von Manstein. All throughout the day, the German columns had sustained local attacks by Soviet forces coming out of the woods at both sides of the road. The terrain was very dense forest and the roads were very bad and narrow. Von Manstein requested support from the SS Totenkopf Motorized Division, which was busy taking full control of the area in and around the city of Porkhov from constant Soviet attacks. The Soviets were not blind, of course. In the evening of the 13th of July, the 11th and 27th Army commanders received Directive Number 10 with the first stage of the counterattack planned by General-Lieutenant Nikolai Vatutin, Chief of Staff of the Northwestern Front. The plan was based on a captured German map detailing the German positions. The commander of the Northwestern Front, General-Major Pyotr Sobennikov, had ordered this counterattack. The 269th Infantry Division captured the village of Zapolye on the main road to Luga and Leningrad. The remaining forces of the 1st Panzer Division were now free to advance northwest to the river Luga in the new direction already taken by their comrades. The 6th Panzer Division had covered 70 kilometers or 43.5 miles and reached the river Luga, where they captured 2 bridges intact and established a small bridgehead 3 kilometers or roughly 2 miles deep. Most of the 1st Panzer Division to the right and east was also making good progress and reached the Luga at Bolshoy-Sabsk, but found the bridge in ruins, so the German engineers would actually build a new bridge the very next day. This change in direction had been a success for Hepla and a complete surprise for the Soviets. The river Luga had been crossed southeast from the city of Kingisepp. Nevertheless, that was it for Reinhardt. Now, a few days were necessary to repair the only supply route to the panzers and the bridgeheads on the Luga River. Supplies and fuel had to be brought to the 41st Motorized Corps, and the 58th Infantry Division had to capture Godov on the left, which it did on the 18th of July with the help from the 36th Motorized Division. But the advance on the left was stopped until the 20th of July. During those days, there was heavy air combat above the bridgeheads on the Luga. On the right side of the German advance, the 8th Panzer Division resumed its advance after capturing Soltsy the previous day with the objective of capturing Mshaga 12 kilometers or 7.5 miles to the east. The panzers almost reached the bridge over the Mshaga River, but could not cross it because of the strong and fierce attacks by Soviet tanks and infantry, as well as strong artillery fire. The 8th Panzer Division had met with the Soviet counterattack. The Soviet 11th Army, supported by 235 planes, initiated the Soltsy-Dnino offensive operation, as the Soviet historiography calls it. The 8th Panzer Division was spread all over the road, and that was the only terrain the Germans actually controlled. On both sides of the road, the Soviets concentrated strong forces. The 202nd Mechanized Division to the south of the road. the 70th Rifle Division and the 1st Separate Mountain Rifle Brigade in front of the German 8th Panzer Division to the north and northeast, the 21st Tank Division to the north, and finally the 237th Rifle Division to the northwest, between the German 8th Panzer and the 3rd Motorized Divisions, and the 183rd Rifle Division to the south near Baranovo and Sydnia. The 8th Panzer Division was in fact surrounded, and the 3rd Motorized Division was cut off from any other German forces. To make matters even worse for the Germans, the road ran along the northern bank of the Chelon River, so that Soviets could observe and target the road easily from the south. The distance from Baravici to the spearhead of the 8th Panzer Division was an astounding 60 kilometers or 37 miles. The 8th Panzer Division and probably the 3rd Motorized Division would soon be out of supplies as well. I quote from Manstein from his memoirs. Early on the 15th of July, we received a number of unpleasant reports at the Corps Command Post on the Chelon River, west of Soltsy. The enemy had launched a powerful attack from the north into the flank of the 8th Panzer Division, which was now strung out to the Mshaga River and simultaneously driven up from the south over the Chelon River. This meant that the bulk of the 8th Panzer Division's fighting troops, who were located between Soltsy and the Mshaga River, were now cut off from the division's rear echelons, in whose area the Corps headquarters was located. But that was not all. The enemy had closed the trap behind ourselves too, by pushing up strong forces from the south to straddle our supply route. At the same time, the 3rd Motorized Division, advancing further northwards, found itself being attacked by superior enemy forces from the north and northeast at Mali Utorgosh. The 4th Panzergruppe received a message from Manstein's 57th Motorized Corps at 03:30 hours, and I quote, "Rear units of the 8th Panzer Division near Apoki, which is 3 kilometers or roughly 2 miles east of Barabici, have come under enemy machine gun and mortar fire. Parts of the Shella section are being committed here just in case the tanks being sent back cannot stabilize the situation on their own." End of quote. Von Manstein ordered a retreat west of Soltsy. General-Leutnant Erich Brandenberger retreated 40 kilometers or 25 miles in good order and started fending off the Soviet attacks. The 16th of July, General Halder's diary says the Soviets have air superiority in the north. On the night of the 15th to the 16th of July, the 4th Composite Aviation Division of Polkovnik Samokhin attacked a concentration of German tanks with success. During the whole counterattack from the 14th to the 18th of July, the Soviets conducted 1,500 sorties in the area around Soltsy compared to 960 German sorties in the wider Luga area. Nevertheless, the Germans had the initiative. Soviet pilots mostly flew obsolete aircraft and were poorly trained. Their bombing accuracy was also poor. The Germans, on the other hand, were overstretched, but their Bf-110 twin-engine fighters from the Zerstörer Reichswehr 26 Herzwessel flew successful ground attack missions. German anti-air crews also successfully defended all bridges attacked by Soviet bombers. The 182nd Rifle Division attacked Borchov on the 15th and penetrated the eastern part of the city, but was repulsed by part of the SS Totenkopf Motorized Division. The 16th, the battle continued, but the next day, on the 17th, the Soviet division was on full retreat pursued by the regiment of the SS Totenkopf all the way to Dno. The 183rd Rifle Division attacked and harassed the retreating German columns along the road on the banks of the Chelon River. On the 16th, it crossed the river and destroyed a retreating German column. The next day, however, a battalion from the SS Totenkopf, the 48th Pioneer Battalion from the 3rd Motorized Division, and a company of panzers stopped the Soviets near Baravici. In that same area, very close, across the river and to the southwest, the 5th Tank Regiment of the Soviet 3rd Tank Division destroyed up to 240 German vehicles loaded with ammunition and with fuel. To the east, on the 16th, the 70th Rifle Division, commanded by General-Major Andrei Fedyonin, recaptured Soltsy. General Polkovnik Markian Popov ordered an all-out attack to eliminate the 8th Panzer and the 3rd Motorized Divisions. Due to this crisis, the 1st Regiment of the SS Totenkopf Motorized Division, now under von Manstein's control, reached Baravici, securing the back and the supplies of the beleaguered Germans. The 1st German Army Corps with the 11th and the 21st Infantry Divisions was finally reaching Porkhov after the combined forces of the German 16th Army and the 3rd Panzergruppe had finally defeated the Soviet 22nd Army to the south. The very next day, the 17th of July, the 3 German divisions, the 3rd Motorized, the 8th Panzer and the SS Totenkopf defended themselves in a unified front from numerous human waves of Soviet attackers. The 3rd Motorized Division defended itself from up to 17 attacks. But now the advantage was on the German side, since Höppner and von Manstein had acted correctly and saved the crisis. The German infantry was advancing in the south on the road to Dinant and captured it on the 18th of July, storming the Soviet 22nd Soviet Rifle Corps headquarters. The 19th of July, all German advance to Leningrad was halted, until the current situation was resolved and stabilized. The 20th of July, the SS Totenkopf Division relieved the front position of the entire 8th Panzer Division, which was sent to the reserve unfit for combat for a whole month. To the southeast, the 11th and 21st Infantry Divisions advanced to the Chelon River and established bridgeheads. The 22nd of July, Soltsy was taken by the German 1st Army Corps commanded by General der Infanterie Kuno Hans von Bott. But a surprise attack on Shimsk on Lake Ilmen by the 21st Infantry Division was defeated by the Soviets. The German mobile advance on Leningrad without infantry support failed to identify Soviet reserves. The Soviet offensive on Soltsy initially succeeded in surprising the Germans and caused so many casualties to the 8th Panzer Division that it had to be sent to the reserve unfit to fight for a whole month. Nevertheless, Höppner and von Manstein showed their professionalism and reacted in the correct way. They retreated, they reorganized and defended against wave after wave of Soviet attacks. The losses on the Soviet sides were far greater, and in the end the counterattack of Soltsy was a failure. The Red Army did not derive any operational lessons from this battle. Command and control was very poor, and there was still no coordination between the attacking forces. Casualties in the first attack waves usually reached up to 50%, although there are no official Soviet casualty figures. For example, just the 70th Rifle Division facing the German 8th Panzer Division started the attack with 15,333 troops, and a month later there were only a few hundred left. German losses amounted to 550 killed in the 8th Panzer Division, 220 on the SS Totenkopf and a similar number on the 3rd Motorized Division. This was a clear example of exchanging appalling amounts of blood for time. But Soltsy did succeed in stopping the German advance for 3 weeks. The next days were spent refitting and reorganizing forces by both sides. The advance on Leningrad would have to wait until August. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please comment, share and subscribe, and if you didn't, well, thank you so much as always for watching this far.